Hi and Assalamualaikum everyone. So for today I'm going to present my study regarding the labor shortage in oil palm plantation sector during COVID-19. My name is Nurulain Isa as a corresponding author for this study. And this study was done by my student, which is the first author, Nur Syafiqah Farain binti Jumain. So we are from the Faculty of Plantations and Agrotechnology, UiTM Malacca Branch, Jasin campus. Alright, so these are the background of the study. Alright, so the shortage of labor in the industry is one of the hot issues, especially for the oil palm plantation sectors. Okay, so since the pandemic issue, which is COVID-19, become worse and become tremendous, and it was supported by the previous study by Koshi et al. 2021. Alright, so when we have problems regarding labor shortage or lack of manpower, it can give problems towards the efficiency and also the productivity of the plantations itself. Where, for example, it can bring the problems like the fruits will not be harvested and oil palm itself will struggle with the labor shortage and some of the operations cannot be done well and cannot be done smoothly. And it was supported by the previous study by Kamaruddin et al. 2018. That study also mentions that as oil palm estates depend fully on the foreign workers, so there are struggle with the shortage of manpower due to the prolonged freeze on hiring by the government. So we proceed with the problem statements. During this pandemic COVID-19, it brings more difficult to the plantation industry because of the closures of border and also the freezing of the intake foreign workers. And through this pandemic also, it has been an eye-opener for the industry and show how dependent of this industry towards the foreign workers. But still, we can't deny, even without the pandemic COVID-19, the labor shortage issue in plantations still occur. Right? So there's a relationship between the foreign workers and the closed border, and it brings the major issue in the labor shortage in oil palm plantation during this COVID-19. So these are the objectives of our study. We have three objectives that we want to achieve. But the first one is to determine the factors of labor shortage issues in oil palm plantation sector during pandemic COVID-19. The second one, we want to identify the relationship of factors that influence the labor shortage issues. And the last objective is we want to evaluate the most influence factors that contribute to labor shortage issue in oil palm plantation sector during pandemic COVID-19. So these are the significance of this study. We have separated and divided it into several parties. So the first party is for employee. So for the employee, it will help the encouraging local workers to work in plantation areas. The second one is for the future research. Okay, so through this study, they can resolve the issues of the labor shortage that happens, especially in oil palm plantations. The third one, for the organizations, where this study can help the organizations to identify the factors of labor shortage during the pandemic issues, and they can try to make actions or another plan to decrease and overcome the issue. And the last one for the governments can create any policy programs that regarding recruitments of local workers or the foreign workers. Alright, so we have confirmed with the several limitations during the study, but the first limitation is this case study is too recent because it's about the labor shortage during the pandemic COVID-19. So there's not many previous study that we can refer, and we have limited reference for this study. Second one, we only use a soft copy of questionnaire because certain plantations or certain organizations not allow face-to-face meeting or face-to-face communications with them. So by group, we need to collect the data, and we collect the data by using the soft copy questionnaire only. Then we need to follow all SOP from the government since it's still in the pandemic issue. So there's some SOP that we need to follow, right? Then we move to the literature review. There are several literature reviews for this study. So the first one, we will go for the general background about the COVID-19. Alright, so according to Sahrabi et al. 2020, the COVID-19 was first published in China in December 2019 before it spreading throughout the world. Okay, so this COVID-19 has a negative impact on global healthcare system with a cascade effect on all aspects of human life. Alright, then we will move to the dependence variable, which is the labor shortage issues in Malaysia. From time to time, we can see that there's a decline numbers of the general workers, especially in the oil palm plantations, and it was supported by the Larry 2020. And of course, currently Malaysia is experiencing the labor supply issue as the majority of the skilled Indonesian labor have returned to their original country. Right, then we move to the independent variables. We have 4 independent variables. So the first one is the freezing of the migrant workers intake. Right, so Malaysia has closed non-essential industry and is expected to extend a freeze on foreign workers recruitment as it battles a third wave on the pandemic. And it was stated by the Wahab 2020. So approximately more than 34,000 Indonesian migrant workers in the various sector, various industry have returned home after Malaysia itself imposed month-long travel restrictions that also require non-essential business to shut down, according to the Indonesian Foreign Ministry. Alright, the second independent factor is the over-dependence on foreign workers. Alright, so for your information, foreign workers in Malaysia is a person who is not Malaysian, unqualified or half experts who work in Malaysia using the Malaysian Immigration Department's temporary visit pass. So according to R. Abdullah et al. 2010, Malaysia is highly dependent on Indonesian workers, especially for the plantation sectors. This is due to the reasons of foreign labor is far more productive, compatible, and cost-effective than domestic or local labor. Right, then, lack of interest of local workers to work in plantations. So, from the observations, we can say that many Malaysians are no longer willing to perform jobs that they regard as 3 days, difficult, dirty, and dangerous, which contribute to the country's reliance on foreign workers. And according to Arif Marhani et al. 2012, they are overly picky when it comes to job decisions, believing that the higher qualifications will result in a better job funding. Alright, the last independent variable is the comparatively inconvenient working conditions in plantations. So there are several reasons or factors that we can relate with these factors. According to N. Abdullah et al. 2016, there are several issues like the low wages and also inconvenience working conditions in plantations. And this reason make plantation sector itself become unattractive to the general laborers. Okay, and according to the Ismail and Yuli Yusman 2014, due to this, plantation workers are shifted to the other sectors owing for the better wages and for the better working conditions. Now we proceed with the research methodology. So for this study, we have select Samdabi Estate Tawau Sabah for our locations for study, and the total populations for these locations is about 100 people, and the sample size is 80. We have identified the sample size by using the Crigit and Morgan table. And for the data collection method, we use closed-ended questionnaire and distribute it to the respondents. So in the questionnaire, we use a Likert skills analysis to get the quantitative data. And for this questionnaire, we have distributed it by using Google Form, email, and also through the WhatsApp to get the information and to get the data. And for the sampling design, we use the random sampling design. And for the data analysis, we have use several analysis under the SPSS, where it consists of the reliability test, descriptive analysis, Pearson correlation analysis, and also we use multiple linear regressions. So these are our conceptual framework. For independent variables, we have 4 factors, which is the first one, the freezing of the migrant workers intake. The second one is the overdependence on foreign workers. The third one is lack of interest of local workers to work in plantations. And the last one, inconvenience working conditions. And for the dependent variables, we have labor shortage issue. So these are our results and discussions. First, I will explain about the reliability test. So reliability test is necessary to do because we want to know whether our questionnaire is valid and reliable to be distributed towards the respondent. So for the reliability test, we get 0.801 for the Cronbach alpha. So from the result, it shows that our questionnaire is reliable and can be distributed to the respondents. So here is the descriptive analysis result. From the figure, we can see that the major gender for the respondent is come from the male respondents. Then for the age, most of the range of age is between 20 to 20 years old. Then followed by the 30 to 39 years old, and the last one 40 to 45 years old. And for the major respondent race, it comes from the Malay race, followed by the others, and last is the Chinese. And for the level of educations, the major results show that the respondent have a bachelor degree qualifications, and it follows by the STPM diploma, SPM master, kerja kemahiran, and also the last one is PMR. Then this is the Pearson correlation analysis that answer the objective number 2. Alright, so if you can see here, all the variables have the strong correlations towards the dependent variables, and the most strong correlations is the overdependence on foreign workers. Okay, and all variables have positive significant relationship between the independent variables and dependent variables. Here is the multiple regression analysis result, and this analysis is to answer the objective number 3. So if you can see here, the model summary table, it shows that the R-square value is 0.620, where this R-square is in the moderate relations. And it was supported by the Mori et al. 2018. The table above shows that the model summary which indicate R-square is 0.620. Thus, 62% of the dependent variables, which is labor shortage, was explained by 4 variables, and for the 38% was explained by other factors that have not been studied under this study. So, for the major factors that influence the dependent variables, which is the labor shortage, is the overdependence factors. So we can see here the B value, beta value for the overdependence is the highest, which is 0.314, and it has the significant relationship towards the dependent variables. So the conclusion is, Malaysia oil palm plantation sector, yes, of course, heavily dependent on foreign workers. And the most influential factors that contribute to the labor shortage issue in oil palm plantations sector during the pandemic COVID-19 is the overdependence on foreign workers. All the factors respectively related with this pandemic era. Therefore, it can be concluded that labor shortage issue increased when this pandemic COVID-19 occurred. So for the recommendations, I want to encourage the estate owners and also plantations to mechanize their operations. Since now we are looking forward for the IR 4.0, so these mechanizations, this technology are very necessary for the future generations. Then, labor recalibration plan expanded and permits for foreign workers extended, and we need to use the mechanism to encourage the locals to join the plantation sector through the better salaries and also the better incentive. So here is the list of the reference that we refer. So thank you.